Okay, fellas, great job domestically, winning the quadruple for the second straight season, but now it's time for us to really focus on this Europa League. Massive game next up, taking on Midtjylland. If we can get points here, we're in the box seat to at least get ourselves into the knockouts of European competition, okay? Let's go, lads. Hello everyone and welcome to episode number 64 of Husavik Heroes here on Shaun Does FM. I hope you are doing well, and coming up in today's episode we are getting stuck into the group stage proper of the Europa League. We've got two games, both of them away from home, off to Denmark to take on Midtjylland and Italy to take on Lazio. So if you are looking forward to today's episode, then do remember to go down below, leave a thumbs up on the video, and if you haven't done so already and are enjoying the series here on the channel, also remember to hit that subscribe button and turn that notification bell on as well. It is greatly appreciated. But here is what the group stage table does look like going into today's episode. If you missed yesterday's one where we played the first group stage game at home against Atletico Madrid, I'll leave a link to it above my head in the top right corner. Also a Multiplicarum final off the back of that in yesterday's episode. But as you can see on screen, by the group stage table, we are not in a good position after that first game, albeit not unexpected, going down 3-1 to Atletico Madrid. Slightly disappointingly after being up 1-0 at half-time, but the first game of today's episode is really important in the race for third, what should be the race for third in this group against Denmark's Midtjylland. And if we can get a point or a win out of this game, hopefully that will put us in a good space heading into the second game of today's episode against Lazio, albeit not really expecting to get much out of that game, albeit hopefully the same as the case. Atletico Madrid will hopefully get the job done there over Midtjylland, despite that game being in Denmark. But off the back of the end of yesterday's episode, we did have a few games to wrap up the end of the league season, even though we had already wrapped up the league title. 3 games started off well with a 4-0 win against HK at home, a double to Bjarkason, a goal to Afosu in the first half, and João Pedro picking up one in the second half to pick up a pretty comprehensive victory there. Off the back of that, a very scratchy win against Reykjavik, a result which did see their manager get sacked, which was a little bit surprising when you do have a look at the league table, considering they are one of the teams that did finish in a European place. A very late goal there to Patrick Nygaard. That was a slightly disappointing result for us, though. Thought we would be able to put those guys away a little bit easier with our first choice 11 for the most part. And off the back of that, though, a really frustrating loss against the team that we did beat in the Multiplicarum final away from home here, going down 2-1 to Nuts KR. Won't show you guys the highlights, but we will show you guys the stats, because I have no idea how he didn't win that game and how he actually conceded 2 goals. An XG of 4.6 to João Pedro with a missed penalty. Did recover to get it at 1-1 at the 71-minute mark, but then we just gave up another goal straight off the back of that. But we created more than enough good chances to win this game with a fairly heavily rotated team. Not many first team players involved with these Europa League games in mind, but somehow we lose on the last day of the season. Yet again, I think that's the third of 4 seasons we've been in the top division now that we have lost on the last day of the season. The only season where that wasn't the case was, of course, last season, where we did win all 22 of our games. So a bit of a frustrating loss there on the last day of the season means we go into this game not in the greatest of form, albeit all of our first choice players are nicely freshened up for this one. We'll actually click on the right table to show you guys. Just to wrap up the domestic season, we win the league by 13 points. That final day loss didn't matter too much. It didn't really have much impact at all, that result. It does mean that Nuts KR did finish in 4th, but they were already guaranteed to. Unfortunately, Reykjavik, the team who we kind of wanted to finish in that 4th spot, they just faded away late in the season, down to 7th in the end. But HK finished 2nd in the end. Reykjavik 3rd, which, as I said, a little bit surprising that they sacked their manager despite losing their last 2 games of the season. And Nuts KR did sneak into that 4th position, so they are the 3 teams who are going to represent us in Conference League qualifying next season. But going into the first game of today's episode, Leandro Diaz is nearly back from his injury. Hopefully, he's going to be right for the second game. There's a decent gap in between the first game and second game of today's episode, so he should be right for that Lazio game, but that's our only injury concern of the registered players for the first game of today's episode, and we'll come back shortly with the team sheets from the MCH Arena in Denmark for this big group game, which could help decide which team is in the box seat for that Conference League knockout spot. And here are the team sheets for this game, and the first thing that interests me being a New Zealander, Michael Wood is the Midtjylland goalkeeper. He's a goalkeeper who recently has been a little bit shaky in between the sticks in real life, most notably in a game against Honduras at the Olympics last year. It's interesting to see that he has got to move to Midtjylland in this game. They've got a few decent players here and there. They've got a Paulinho in their squad. Not too sure if it's a good Paulinho, but nonetheless, he might be worth keeping an eye out on. But if their version of Michael Wood is anything like the real-life version, he might be a goalkeeper who we can sneak a few goals by. In terms of us, the one slight change to what our usual first choice 11 would be, Roselli is in there for Leandro Diaz, with him still recovering from an injury, and because of that, Chris Jansson is our left-back cover on the bench as well. But apart from that, we are at full strength everywhere else, and hopefully we can get something out of this game to just give us a slight edge in that race for third in this Europa League group. 21 minutes gone. First highlight is a corner in our favour. A fairly even game so far. I think that was Corbo who got his head on the end of that. Comes off the upright, so a good early chance for us there. The woodwork denies us. It does remain 0-0, and shortly off the back of that, we do have another free kick. You can see there, bottom left corner, Jorginho with an early penalty for Madrid to put them up against Lazio. Good chance here for Rubio, but just not quite enough pace to get beyond the defence. Cadena tries to put a ball back into the mixer, but we can't create anything from that. Slight chance. Promising signs there halfway through the first half, but it does remain 0-0 here in Denmark. And that is half-time in this Europa League game. It's been a pretty even half so far. Pretty similar stats for both teams. We're slightly edging things XG-wise, but unfortunately the scoreline does remain 0-0, but fairly encouraging signs. I should have mentioned playing on a positive mentality for this away game. I think we'll just step things back a little bit from that attacking mentality, which didn't come up for us in the second half yesterday against Atletico Madrid, but fairly encouraged. Hopefully we can get a goal here in the second half and try and pick up some points here in Denmark. And early on in the second half, we do have a highlight on the attack yet again, trying to pick out Patrick Nygaard, which we do. He's being marked by Paulinho. Far post ball for Cadena. Good header and forces a pretty good save there out of Wood. And this highlight will continue. Somewhat unrealistic but from what I've seen of him in real life, but we'll go on. Hopefully we can beat the New Zealand goalkeeper sooner rather than later. And Nygaard on the attack for us again here down the right-hand side. Cadena again, and this time he hits the post. Couple of very similar chances there. Somehow it doesn't find the back of the net, and it remains 0-0 at the 50-minute mark, albeit a clearance this time from Wood. And they do keep possession here, do Midtjylland, and they look to get something going really for the first time in this game, which we've been shown on camera. And Sisto makes his way down the right-hand side. Oh, it's a mess at the back. It falls to Maloney, and they do open the scoring, and that feels like it is completely against the run of play. We have had all the highlights so far in our favour, but an absolute mess at the back there from our centre-backs, I presume, gives Midtjylland a chance to get in front. Mbiyamba with a missed header. I think it's actually Ian Carlo who tries to control it, does a poor job of it. And as I said, against the run of play somewhat, we are 1-0 down here at the 50-minute mark, albeit not too long off the back of that. We do have a highlight. Hopefully we can get this back to level terms sooner rather than later, because it feels like this is a harsh scoreline at the moment, and we try and get something going yet again through Nygaard down the right-hand side. Carlo trying to pick out Cadena, who had a few good chances before, puts the ball into the mixer, trying to pick out Nygaard yet again. It's cleared out to Ian Carlo, finds Caviglia. Good short passing. Nygaard will rocket that into the top left corner, and that's exactly what we were after. An instant reply, and we do get it back to all square, and that's exactly what we needed after that sloppy goal, which we did concede, as I said, somewhat out of nowhere. Really doing a good job on this right-hand side so far, and that's a really nice strike from Nygaard. No stopping that for the New Zealand goalkeeper, and it's 1-1 with just under 40 minutes left. Okay, 57 minutes gone here. We're going to make our first couple of substitutions. We've got a few players on red hearts. Mbiyamba did miss that header before, so we'll give Afosu some minutes off the bench for him, and Swiderski is also down to a red heart. Porstein Arnason to come on for him. Just over a half hour left and still locked up here at 1-1. And very shortly off the back of that, we're going to make our third substitution. Same reasoning, Kadena down to a red heart, also on a 6.4. Bjarkason on for him. 85 minutes gone, late highlight in this game, the first one that we have seen since we did grab that equaliser, still slightly edging things in this game. Most of the highlights have been in our favour, so going attacking for these last few minutes, hoping that it pays off, although great chance here for Midtjylland, and it's a good save from Sarah Fellini. They will have a corner. Hopefully we can hold on here. Maybe we should go back to positive. Might be just a little bit too open on this attacking mentality. We do deal with that corner. Anderson does tidy things up. We get inside the last few minutes. You can see our XG just edging them with it. Slightly more shots. One more on target, albeit Midtjylland with a very late corner going far post, and luckily they do put it just wide. Good chance for them there. They do miss the target, and it looks like this is going to finish as a 1-1 draw. Feels like a game that we definitely could have won, but a point away from home, not too bad as long as we can keep pace with these guys and hopefully win the last game of the group stage at home against them so that we can overtake them and at worst finish third in this group. As I said, a game which we probably should have won, especially the amount of shots that we did have coming off the woodwork, and also conceding a sloppy goal as well. Michael Wood in goal for them, having a pretty good game. Did the New Zealand goalkeeper. He now has 36 caps for the All Whites and looks like he's turned into a decent option, having joined them from Almere City in Holland at the end of the 2023-24 season. But probably a game that we could have won, but not a terrible result there considering it was away from home. And that means that for some reason we do actually jump above them on the points table despite having an inferior goal differential to them. Atletico Madrid with a 2-0 win there over Lazio. That means that they do go top of the table, and we'll come back shortly for our trip to Italy to take on Lazio. And here are the team sheets for this game at the Olimpico against Lazio in Italy. You can see the Lazio team there on the left-hand side. A few more familiar names in this Lazio team to you guys than there would have been in that Midtjylland team. They've got the likes of Galini, Luis Felipe. They have Molo and Accardi up front. And they've also got the likes of Dubravka, Sebastian Haller on the bench as well. So a pretty deep squad here at Lazio, despite the fact that they don't actually have a manager in this save. We are going with a pretty similar team to the first game, but we've made that one change. Leandro Diaz is back from his injury. Eugenio Roselli did not have a great game there in Denmark before, so he comes straight back in to the starting 11. Roselli goes down to the bench, but otherwise the exact same lineup, and hopefully we can get an unexpected point here in Italy. 18 minutes gone, not much happening in this game so far. One shot from either team, but neither on target. But we do have possession in the first highlight that we do get shown. Sergio Cadena down the left-hand side. It's a poor pass there for Galtason, though, and Accardi is in behind our defence, and of course he slots it away. Does Mauro Accardi, as you would expect. It's a bit of a moment of madness from us there. Sergio Cadena with a poor pass. Galtason not in enough space here. It's good retreating play from Raul Moro, and he sets up Accardi. He's just got too much pace there for Mbiamba, I believe that was. He nearly got back, but the angle was just too kind there for Accardi, and we go 1-0 down, just shy of the 20-minute mark. And that is half-time here in Italy. We are 1-0 down, but you look at the stats there and the XG graph. Feels a little bit harsh, just that mistake there from Cadena/Galtason, which gave them the opportunity, which they did take. We have not taken ours just yet, but fairly encouraged by the way that we are playing, slightly dominating position, as well as all the other stats, except the most important one, which is the scoreline. We'll make no changes at halftime just yet, and hopefully we can get some reward for our play in the second half. 52 minutes gone. First highlight of the second half is a corner to Lazio, far post, and Sarah Fellini pulls out a good save. We pass it short at the back, which is a little bit hairy with that much pressure on our goal line, but a good early chance there for the Italian side. Scoreline does remain 1-0 though. And up to the hour mark, time for us to make some substitutions. As you can see there, bottom left corner, Atletico Madrid, as you would expect, have picked up a goal to go ahead there against Midtjylland, which is just what we want to see. But we've got a few players out there who are struggling a little bit, 6.5 ratings, but we'll take them off and see if it helps. Fosu will come on for Corbo, and João Pedro for Rubio. Feel like we might be able to get some improvements in those two positions. Half hour left, still 1-0 down. And up to the 76-minute mark, we are going to make our last substitution. Interesting that we were seeing there before. Midtjylland have got an equaliser against Atletico Madrid, but Swiderski Red Heart 6.6 rating. Porstein Arnason will come on for him, and we'll see if that change makes any difference. And we do in fact have a highlight right before we can make that substitution. We'll see what happens before we do make our last substitution. Swiderski gets the ball back there for us, and hopefully we can get something going. We were about to go attacking as well, just to try and get a goal back in this game, and Nygaard finds some space there on the right hand side. Nice ball there for Nicolucci. Caviglia but forces a decent save there out of Galini. We'll see if the corner gets shown. It doesn't after those substitutions. Just over 10 minutes left, still 1-0 down. 88 minutes gone. It's a late highlight, which does start with us on the ball, and it would be quite good if we could get a point here, because I still think the scoreline in the other game is 1-1 between Midtjylland and Atletico Madrid, but we do give the ball away there, and Lazio will look to wrap this up late. Feels like it's been a game which we've actually played quite well in, but it hasn't really been reflected in both the highlights and the scoreline so far, so I suppose that's the most important things, but it is Lazio who are on the attack here, and Icardi, some good work. Raul Moro, it's a wonderful ball. Serafellini comes out for it, cannot get there, and that will wrap things up with 1 minute to go, plus added time here from the referee, and we will suffer our second defeat here of the group stages, albeit it is an expected one away at Lazio. Good short passing. Raul Moro on the wrong side of our defenders. Serafellini comes out for that, but doesn't get to it, and we do go 2-0 down right on the 90-minute mark. You can see from the stats there, we have had more shots, same amount on target, but not nearly as efficient with ours as Lazio have been with theirs, and we do suffer a 2-0 defeat, albeit up until that last goal, which they did score. Pretty even game, but we were not clinical enough with our chances. They were very clinical with theirs, and we do go down 2-0 away in Italy, albeit slightly encouraging performance. I do feel like there wasn't the worst effort from our guys. Hopefully we can do better when we take these guys on at home, but we do suffer defeat here, and that does mean that I think we're going to be bottom of the group off the back of our third match week in the Europa League. And indeed that is the case. You can see there top left corner, Maloney got a goal at home for Midtjylland again, which does see them go above us on 2 points, albeit if we can keep that gap to 2 points at the most, we can still go above those guys with a win on the final match week. But halfway through the Europa League group stage, we are bottom of the group. Looks like Atletico and Lazio are the teams who should be getting out of this group. Potentially a race for third between Midtjylland and us to try and get in the Conference League knockouts. But back in the inbox, and that will do it for today's episode. Unfortunately, a loss there against Lazio, but we did pick up what could be a quite important point away in Denmark in the first game of today's episode. If you did enjoy it, then do remember to go down below, leave a thumbs up on the video, and if you haven't done so already and are enjoying this series here on the channel, also remember to hit that subscribe button and turn that notification bell on as well. We will come back at the start of next week. We will have our last game of the season in the Europa League group stage at home this time to Lazio, and off the back of that we should also have our end of season review as well, so we will go through that and see what that shows us from this past season. But until then, thank you very much for watching. Keep on keeping on, and I'll see you then. Cheers.